Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. You are getting a makeup list Keelan today because I actually can't find my makeup bag. I literally have no clue where it is. But anyway, today we are going to be discussing how I budget. So I have done some budgeting videos in the past. My budget has slightly changed since then. And now that I am working for myself, I really use my budget to kind of plan my whole month and my spending and my business expenses and my living expenses, and I basically live by my budget. Now, one of the things that you will note, we're gonna dive into it, we're gonna dive into the Excel, but one of the things that you will note in my budget is that it really is just for my creative businesses. So for my cover design, my books, I make no money off my books right now, but eventually I will, hopefully. So cover design, books, YouTube, some other creative endeavors, and then also I have included my student budgeting in there as well. So any kind of grants or loans I'm getting for being a student. I have excluded my kind of business consulting because I do business consulting in the field I used to work in, mainly because there are sometimes really large expenses there, just to, upkeep certificates and all that stuff. And then also because I really am trying to live off of my creative income. That is kind of why that is the focus. And so basically income coming from other streams is being used to go to investments and also to fund those businesses. But this is really kind of what I live off of and also what I am hoping to really grow into the future. So without further ado, let's get into the budget sheet. All right, so welcome to my personal budget spreadsheet. I am obsessed with this spreadsheet. I have been using it all summer, but I did have to make some tweaks to show it on video because I really only wanted to include my quote unquote creative income for these videos. So my cover design income, my YouTube income, my book income, and other creative incomes. I do have another source of income, a couple of other sources of incomes, but I just didn't want to include that here because it is totally separate from what I do on my YouTube channel. And anyway, I just didn't want to put those in here, so that is separate, but I am trying to live off of my creative income, so that is the goal, essentially. The one thing I did include that is outside of kind of the creative sphere is my OSAP, which is Ontario Student Assistance Program, grant and loan, because this is essentially what is going to be funding my schooling. I did receive a grant that covers the large majority of my tuition. So my tuition is about $4,100 for the entire year, and I received a grant for $3,800. So I'm essentially spending $300 on tuition. But then I also was approved for a student loan, which is why this number is kind of double what it costs for the first semester. The first semester is about $2,000, and then I get a little bit more from the loan. And the loan is essentially to cover living and student expenses. I'm taking the loan this semester, but next semester, next year, or I should say next year, not next semester, I'm probably not going to take the loan, but I just thought in case there's any unexpected kind of expense that goes along with school that comes up, I'll have a little bit of cushion room. So I did take the loan. It is a student loan. I will have to pay it back. The grant portion, though, I don't have to pay back. So that is awesome. So in the spreadsheet, you'll notice two columns. So there is the budget column. So this is what I expect either to earn in the income section or to spend in the expenses section, and then my actual for the month. So this is what I actually earn. This is what I actually spend. And this is what is budgeted. This is what is expected. This month, this is quite a big number for my income goal. Again, this is because I'm receiving a grant. About half of this is grant money and about half of this is loan money. In October, I'm not receiving that. So that is at zero. So that is the kind of budget and actual column, and then this is the income section. After the income section, we have the living expenses section, which is essentially my savings. As you can see, I am trying to save most of the loan I receive for emergency use. If there is any student supply or living expenses, etc., that comes up that is related to my schooling, that is what the savings is for. As you can see, if I switch over to October, the savings is much less. This is going to be for taxes or emergency. So September is atypical. This is not what I typically save in a month, but it's just because I'm putting most of this loan away. Then I've got rent, debit and credit card payments. I don't have anything on this credit card, so I don't have to pay it. I've got, my line of credit that I'm going to pay $100 towards. I've got my TD credit card. I'm probably going to end up spending more to pay this because I like to pay my credit cards off as much as possible. And then I've got my TD line of credit. So this is kind of just like debt repayment and paying off credit cards or line of credits that I've used in the past month. And then we've got my gym, which, yes, is very expensive. My gym is about $220 a month. And then I also do like some personal training sessions. So that is why it is at a $300 budget. Honestly, I would like to up this to $500, but I need to start making more money to do that. Again, this is atypical from my creative income, and I'm really just trying to live off my creative income. And then we've got bank fees. Bank fees are a lot for no reason, and I hate it, and I'm hoping to transition to a student account soon. Then we've got my business expenses, so stock images for my book cover design, website fees, Adobe Creative Suite for book cover design. My phone goes in here because it is mostly used for business. StreamYard, that is for YouTube. Miscellaneous purchases, this is normally where like editing expenses go or something like that. So if I expect, for example, to spend a lot of money on book editing that month, I will change this budget for the month. Then we've got school expenses. So again, this is September. I have to pay tuition at the beginning of the fall semester and the beginning of the winter semester. So most months I won't have to pay tuition. So like, for example, if we go to October, this is October here, I have no tuition to pay. And I've also allocated less money to school expenses. So if we take a look here, my supplies are $50 I've allocated because I am doing graphic design. I might have to buy like pencils, pens, markers, rulers, etc. $150 towards textbooks, $50 to extracurriculars. I did put my subway and public transport expense in my school section because while I do use the public transportation sometimes for personal use, it is mostly it's mostly for school, to get to school. So that is why it is here. And then we've got miscellaneous purchases in case there's anything that, I will need outside of kind of the regular school expenses categories here. And again, if we switch to October, you can see a lot of these are much less, like I'm not expecting to have to buy new textbooks in October. So we have about $851 remaining in our budget. After each section of expenses, my spreadsheet calculates how much budget is remaining for expenses. And then essentially what I do is I take that $851 and divide it by the number of days in the month. There's actually only 30 days in September, but even if it's a 30-day month, I leave day 31 in hopes that kind of the reduced budget per day will incentivize me to save more. So hoping that helps. So yeah, essentially I take the remaining budget after all key expenses like school expenses, business expenses, living expenses, we just went through the sections. After all that is done and taken care of, I take the remaining budget and then divide it by the number of days, and that is my budget per day. So this encompasses everything from groceries to coffee to drinks with friends to concerts, etc. So as you can see here, basically my goal for September is to spend about $25 a day, $27 a day maximum. And you might be wondering, okay, well, Keelan, if you have to buy groceries or something, what happens if it's more than that? I'm obviously not spending $30 every single day. So there might be 3 days a week where I spend absolutely nothing. And then essentially I've got $90 like kind of banked up to spend on whatever it may be, groceries, dinner out, like concerts, etc. But this is essentially how I budget my spending money. A lot of people budget spending money a little bit differently. They'll either like categorize it. So they'll say like, okay, well, I've got $200 to spend on dining out, $400 to spend on groceries, like whatnot. I don't do it that way because I like flexibility in my budget. And I essentially, I don't know. This just works for me. The categorization never worked for me. This works for me to know like, okay, I can spend about $25 a day. I spent nothing today. That means I can spend $50 tomorrow. This is just what works for me in my budget. And so again, this column here is the budget column. This is what I actually spend. So let's say I haven't gone out and bought anything today. I've spent no money today, but let's say I spent like I went out and got coffee. Oops, that is not the correct place to put it. I would put in the notes here, coffee, and then I would put here that it was like $3. And it would just go into the actual column, and then you would see it reflected at the bottom here. So essentially my budget drives me down to zero because, as you know, earlier we did put money into savings in the living expenses section. So my budget does drive down to zero, but in actuality, if I have money left over, I will move it into my investments or savings. Now, you might be wondering, okay, Keelan, why do you have money here? It is because I did sneak away for a second and start filling in this spreadsheet. So as you can see, I did start going ahead and filling in this spreadsheet for September. It is only September 1st. I don't have that much to put in it, but I did have some income to put in. So I paid myself today out of my PayPal to my TD checking account. I paid myself $1,976.73. So that was kind of my quote unquote cover design paycheck for the day. I don't receive this grant until next week, so it is not going in here yet. Obviously, that means I haven't put the money in savings because most of the loan money is going to savings just for kind of a cushion in case there is any student expenses or living expenses that I need help with while being a student. I transferred $850 to my landlord. So as you can see here, my budget and actual is balanced now. I sent money to my line of credit. I paid my credit card. I am going to pay more throughout the month because, like I said, I like to pay off my credit card, and I sent money to my other line of credit as well. So these are balanced now, and anything that I pay here is kind of like a quote unquote overpayment. Most of my business expenses actually come in at the end of the month, which is really inconvenient. I really wish they came in at the beginning, but they don't. They seem to come in at the end of the month. So does my bank fee. I think my gym membership comes in about tomorrow. It hits my credit card. So all of this stuff will be updated throughout the month, but these were the updates that I had to do today. I'm hoping to do weekly updates on my budget so you can see kind of like how my creative budget evolves. Essentially a really transparent look at a creative income, budget, etc. So this is essentially it. This is how I do my budget. I have my monthly allocation. This is what I hope to earn in my income section. This is what I hope to spend in my expenses section. And then I have my actual. What am I actually doing? And so at the end of the month, I can compare my budget and my actual and set new goals for the next month. So in October, let's say, for example, I notice I'm spending less on the gym. I'm not spending that extra money for personal training sessions. I'm only spending my $220. But I am spending more on my website. I can go in and adjust those numbers for my goals in October. So that is essentially it. That is my budgeting spreadsheet. This is how I create my personal creative budget for both my business and my student expenses. And September is really an outlier because this is brand new. This is not something I get every month. This is something that is a twice a year thing. So I am getting this now, and I will get this at the winter semester. And then again next year if I reapply for OSAP. So this is very unusual. It hasn't hit my budget yet, but it will next week. And essentially this is it. So you can see I have already inserted some items. And this is not real. We didn't actually buy a $3 coffee, so I'm going to remove that. And yeah, you'll see here, like, this is what I still have remaining. So of my income that I've made so far this month, I still have $726 remaining. So theoretically, if the month ended now, I would move all of that money to savings and investment, but the month is not ending now, and I still have a lot of expenses left to pay. So this is how I do my budgeting. I hope you guys enjoyed. Come back every week. I'm hoping to post these on a weekly basis. I know this isn't going up on a Monday, but I'm hoping to post these every Monday. So yeah, stay tuned. We are going to do this on a weekly basis. And I really think there just needs to be more transparency when it comes to creative entrepreneurship and money. So this is hopefully me contributing to more transparency. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. If you want this budget sheet, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll figure out a way to share it with you guys for free, and you can go in and populate it however you want. So yeah, just let me know down in the comments below if this was helpful, if you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. All right, talk soon, everyone. Bye.